Several weeks ago, I released a video explaining every clue in Return of the Obra Dinn. Didn't turn out quite as good as I expected it to, mainly because I missed a few key facts. Fortunately, I asked people to let me know in the comments if I did miss any facts, and oh good God did they let me know. Thank you to all of these amazing commenters who made this update video possible. Alright, where should I start? Before we get into the exact clues I missed, I want to mention something I was aware of but forgot to mention. Obviously, all of the crewmates have a place of origin, right? But in the original video, I never mentioned how most people can use the crewmates' accents to help identify them. I think this is in part because I'm a dumb American, and my ability to distinguish British Isle accents boils down to English or not English. However, many people can probably use their ability to recognize accents to help them deduce who's who. Languages can also play a large role in deducing people. For example, Philip Dahl is the only Swede on board, and he speaks Swedish in the final scene of Unholy Captives. Which makes me feel even more stupid for never really figuring out how to identify him on my playthrough. Alright, let's get into the actual clues that the commenters helped me with. First of all, in my original video, I couldn't find an easy way to identify who George Shirley is. Fortunately, both Rise Nelson and Micah Bell pointed out how George is found in the Doom 2 sitting with Wei Lee. Wei's hammock tag can be found, but George's cannot. If we cross-reference this scene with a Bitter Cold 1, we can spot hammock number 59. This allows us to identify this man as number 59 on the manifest, aka George Shirley. I also struggled with Alexander Booth, and to be fair, the clues here are a bit of a stretch, but I'll leave it in. In the Doom 2, hammock number 57 can be found. This indicates that Alexander Booth is still alive by that chapter. Using the process of elimination, we could then figure out that he is this man. Micah Bell also pointed out how we can spot hammock 44 still up on the gun deck, meaning Lewis Walker was still alive until the very end of the game. And this man was the only person left unidentified during the end, making him Lewis Walker. I couldn't find any way to distinguish the Peters brothers. However, Stars and Muffins pointed out how hammock 48 can be found in the Doom 2, whereas Samuel's hammock, number 60, can never be found in the game, meaning the Peters who survived for the longest must be number 48, aka Nathan Peters. Stars and Muffins also pointed out several small clues. This man can be seen looking out of the fourth mate's quarters in the Calling 6, providing more evidence that he is John Davies, the fourth mate. In Soldiers of the Sea 7, you can spot the gunner and the gunner's mate in the armory. Apparently, French men in the Navy wore striped shirts called Bredon stripes. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. They are nearly identical to what Charles Minor wears. However, the French only adopted this style in 1858, and the game takes place in 1803. But this is so oddly specific that I just assumed it was meant to be a clue, and the incorrect date was just a mistake. And lastly, this man can be seen in Murder 2 whispering into Nichols' ear, providing more evidence that he is his steward. Rise Nelson also pointed out some miscellaneous facts. In Unholy Captives Part 2, we can see the midshipmen together, the gunners together, and the bosuns together. I already mentioned the surgeons in my first video. In the Doom Part 2, we can use the strategy we were using earlier with the hammock tags to help us identify Russian number 45, aka Leonid, considering that his hammock remains up. And lastly, Alfred can be seen with a whistle in Unholy Captives. This indicates that he's a bosun, since real-life bosuns often had whistles. And that's it for the comments. Once again, thank you to Rise Nelson, Stars and Muffins, and, Micah Bell. One last thing before I wrap up the video. I never mentioned in my main video when somebody could be seen as a seaman or a topman, unless it was some way relevant. Obviously, throughout the game, you can mark many of the crew as unidentified seamen or topmen. I just never mentioned it because there's so many of them, and their occupation wasn't entirely relevant until towards the end. And that is finally it. Hopefully, I won't have to make a part 3, so please don't leave any more clues in the comments. That's a joke, of course, if I did miss something, which I probably did. Please leave some clues. And I guess depending on how many clues I missed, then I might make a part 3. But thank you all for watching and helping me make this video, and goodbye.